Alright, ladies and generals, listen the fuck up, because in this video I want to talk about what I'm looking out for to attempt to get close to timing a cycle bottom. Because while no one can exactly time a top or bottom perfectly with any high degree of accuracy consistently, what you can do, I believe, is attempt to at least get close. And getting close matters, because the closer you can buy into a market at or near a cycle bottom, the greater the chance you have for getting exponential return on investment the closer you can time a bottom, especially when it comes to crypto. Because folks, we're not in the stock market, we're not trading traditional or investing in traditional securities. We're in crypto, the fastest growing asset class in the world. And even something like Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency I usually criticize for having low ROI potential. If we can get this thing close to a bottom, I mean, by next cycle, parabolic blow off top 2025, props 2026, there's maybe tens of X's, 10, 20X possibility within the game if you can get at or close to a cycle bottom. So without further ado, I want to share my thoughts as to what I'm looking out for. If you like the sound of that, if you want to follow our take on this market moving forward, folks, like and subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. And without further ado, let's delve into it. So folks, as much as we like being in crypto, and as much as we like to think that hopefully crypto should be decorrelated and one day will be decorrelated from the rest of the greater investment markets, it is currently not. Bitcoin is currently seen as a tech stock in the eyes of the traditional stock market, which is why it makes sense to keep track of how legacy investment vehicles are behaving. So right now we're looking at the SPY, the S&P 500, and what we can see is that we are crashing quite a bit. Yeah, this is the 200 simple weekly moving average, and we can see this has been a bedrock of support in the very recent past during major corrections back in February 2016 and kind of January 2019 here as well. Now we can see that we're getting very close to testing this thing, and I would anticipate some kind of temporary support coming in at these levels, because as we can see before, even if and when we've crashed below it, we typically at least had, you see, a weekly candle finding support here at least for 1 week, and then kind of here as well we see how we were wicked off this region as well. So look folks, bottom line is I would anticipate some kind of more support coming in here, and if we start to get weekly candles opening and closing below this thing, well, we could have significantly more downside potential. So what I'm trying to get across here, folks, is that I think there's a little bit more bleeding left in the traditional markets before we come up against some kind of support. And should we lose this major inflection point, well, we could see a lot more pain, which will translate into Bitcoin. Because folks, if the stock market is doing terrible, then there's a global risk-off approach, and so that there's less buying pressure, less willing participants entering this market willing to buy. And so how I think this is going to affect Bitcoin here is I think we do have some more downside potential, not only because of the greater stock market showing weakness, interest rate hikes, lack of quantitative easing, lack of the printing of money. There is kind of this global risk-off environment that we're currently in, and if we take that into account, plus how Bitcoin has behaved historically speaking, we've dropped roughly 85% and gone down for a year. That was the 2018 bear market. If we look at the 2013, 2014 bear market here, we dropped 86, 87% and went down for just over a year. So we have two cycles now where we go down for about a year, a little bit over a year, and we drop roughly 85 some odd percent. And if we kind of take a look at how we are at currently speaking, a year from the latest all-time high would land us somewhere in late October, early November 2022, and an 85% correction, which is what we've done historically, would land us at around $10,000, folks. So given the way that Bitcoin has performed historically, number one, in how long bear markets have lasted historically, number two, in the average drawdown we've seen from all-time highs, plus the greater context with the stock market, I would kind of bias more downside in the coming weeks and months. Even though we may have recovery rallies, that's completely possible. I think they're just that temporary rallies that will inevitably lead to lower lows, in my opinion, given kind of that macro context. But with all that being said, folks, again, For me, looking, as a technical analyst, I see that support starts to come in for Bitcoin anywhere from around 13K to basically about 10K. So once Bitcoin hits these regions, while it's always theoretically possible that we can fall further, at that point, we start to enter an extremely oversold period, both in different kind of cycle indicators, relative strength index, and the typical percentage drawdown we see from all-time highs. And while we could obviously dip further, wick further below 10K, if we see Bitcoin anywhere from 10 to 13K, I am personally betting that there is a high degree of likelihood that at least is very close to a cycle bottom, and therefore I would be extremely interested in accumulating altcoins when Bitcoin is at and around 10 to 13K. I'm betting that there is a high probability chance that 10 to 13K is the cycle bottom for Bitcoin, given how we've historically behaved in the past. Bottom line is, folks, for me, support really starts to kick in from 13K to about 10K. That is where I will be personally accumulating in this market. My favorite altcoins, things like Chainlink, things like Cardano. Although, even though I like those cryptocurrencies, I gotta be honest with y'all, my number one focus in accumulating cryptocurrency for the coming months and years is the Richard Heart ecosystem, Pulse Chain, Pulse X, and Hex, because I believe those cryptocurrencies have what it takes to outperform the vast majority of the crypto markets. There's such solid fundamentals, bullish tokenomics, incredible community. The exact recipe needed to outperform the market exists in those cryptocurrencies. So while I may dabble into things such as Chainlink and Cardano, the vast majority, the bulk of my portfolio is currently in Hex, but will be mostly in Pulse Chain, Pulse X, and Hex moving forward, because I do believe those cryptocurrencies have the ability to outperform the vast majority of the rest of the market. Now, something to note as well, folks, Bitcoin, whether we like it or not, is currently and has been the largest driving force in this market. Every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin being produced gets cut in half. That's known as Bitcoin halving. Next Bitcoin halving is, I believe, March 2024. And so if we continue to behave the way we have historically, next bull market, parabolic blow off top, should be late third quarter, fourth quarter, 2025. And so, folks, to put things even more clearly, to kind of summarize here, I'm hoping to accumulate either late October, early November, or when Bitcoin is around 10 to 13K. My favorite altcoins, Hex, Chainlink, maybe dabble into Cardano a little bit, especially when Pulse Chain goes live. Pulse Chain is not live out yet, but when it goes live, that will very likely be my number one largest investment, and then hold until this time, late third quarter, fourth quarter, 2025. So, folks, this is when I think the bottom of the bear market will be. Next bull market, I think, will be next parabolic blow off top will be, I think, late 2025. If you like that video, make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. Become a Patreon member if you want to support us and track what I'm doing in this market. We will be doing weekly uploads specifically just for our Patreon members, where we give where we delve into nuanced updates of what we think is going on in the market, what I'm personally invested in. As well, you'll get access to our VIP Discord group where I talk about what I'm buying and selling, what I'm holding, that kind of stuff. So, folks, thank you all so much for watching. Links for everything down in the description below. Until next time, take care.